The goddess wishes for me to remind you once again that this does not constitute gratitude or obligation to you. She merely does not wish for so valuable an asset to be lost to the vulgarities of the wasteland unless it can suit her purposes. Lacuna said as her horn glowed a faint purple. The dark alicorn's lips curled into a smile. Oh, she apparently did not want me to tell you that last part. The magic was knitting together flesh and tendons under Glory's watchful eye. Yeah, I love her too, I muttered, sarcastically as my injury slowly healed. I would have liked it even more if she had healed Glory back when she got injured, but that was apparently too much to ask back then. I'm glad the goddess finally taught you a healing spell. Oh, she didn't teach it. The spell is Windy Reeds. She was a medic during the war. Lacuna made a face. It was simply put into me by the goddess. To learn it would have taken far too long. So why doesn't she just put like a bajillion spells into every alicorn and take over the wasteland? Glory said as she supervised the procedure. Apparently having a spell didn't make her an expert on how to use it. She's tried that. The results were unfortunate. The mind would have so many options, most of them alien to us, and would make mistakes. Rather, we are given a minimum of spells to focus on, but we know them exceedingly well. And we are always learning new applications for them. There is one mare in particular who is definitely pushing our learning curve, she said with a little smile. I am something of a special case, though, she added. I looked at her, the alicorn dustbin of unwanted thoughts and feelings, the pony who never was a pony. I wanted to ask who she was before becoming an alicorn. Family, friends, a life, all the things she never had. This is amazing, though, Blackjack, Glory said, once more excited. No pony's ever found the source of information before. It was always assumed to be some kind of magical damage to the environment or some zebra weapon, but its distribution has always been a mystery. If it's caused by devices, then we might be able to eventually remove them. I don't know what it was. I was pretty messed up at that point, but I don't think it's gone. Just turned back to normal, I said as I watched them work in the normal Hoofington gloom. Evidently, after turning everything off, I'd powered down the terminal. Now we couldn't get it to turn back on. Still, it's a phenomenal breakthrough, Glory said with glee. I so can't wait to write my teacher about it. She was literally dancing on her hooves. I listened for Rampage to make a sarcastic quip about Glory being an egghead, but nothing. Goddesses, I missed her. P-21 was packing away his satchel bomb. Lacuna could teleport him outside to reopen the door. Scotch Tape was looking for any food, medicine, or ammo that was still good. She was almost as good as scavenging as her daddy, but I kept that to myself. See, Blackjack can be taught. So when we came in, that box powered up and started killing all of us. Why? How? No idea. But at least we knew what was causing it. I tried to think of what was written on the box before blasting it. Rose, luck, gardens, businesses, security. Now I was afraid I was making stuff up to try and remember. We've dodged another bullet, I thought as Lacuna finished. Not that I'd say it, but her healing had left me stiff and sore in that limb. Well, beggars can't be choosers, Blackjack. The bony bastard hadn't taken me yet. But as I looked at the bones behind the register, I heard the shuffling in my mind. Just wait, they seemed to say. We reached a major road that came out of the core, another 4-lane highway that cut straight as an arrow, due east. Okay, so it wouldn't be much good to us. The bigger concern was the broken bridge that had once spanned the river. What remained of the huge concrete arch was covered with wagons of all types, and they'd been cobbled together into a settlement on a decidedly unpleasant sort. Spiked decorations were never a good sign around Hoofington. So, what are we going to do? P-21 asked as he looked up at the town. Can't we just go around? Glory asked, pointing at the wet walkway that went under the bridge. He pointed a hoof up. Would you look at that place? Are you telling me we should just leave it? They could be raiders. But they could be, but they're not attacking us. Hoofington is dangerous enough. Are you suggesting we go out of our way to pick fights with whatever ponies we come across, even if we don't like them? Glory countered with a scowl. My friends glared at each other. Hey, simmer down a notch, I said in concern. Glory and P21 weren't usually on the same page, but they rarely looked ready to blast each other. I looked over at the worried Scotch and sighed. What I wouldn't give for Rampage to be here right now. Look, there's a really simple way to resolve this. Both blinked at me. I suppose that Blackjack, as the voice of reason, was a little surprising. I'll trot up there and say hi. If they shoot me, we'll know that they're bad ponies. Like that scavenger near the MAS-EBS tower? I winced inwardly. If they shoot me a lot, while shouting about how they're going to rape me or eat me or fuck me up, then we'll know that they're bad ponies, I amended. Okay, now that was the look I was more familiar with. Blackjack, are you trying to get yourself killed? Glory blurted. We just healed you. This has to be one of the most idiotic plans I've ever heard, P21 retorted simultaneously. I stomped, and the effect was ruined by me splashing myself with muddy water. My lips twitched for several seconds before I pointed a hoof at Glory. You're right. We shouldn't just shoot every pony we come across. And then I pointed at P21. And you're right. If they are all cannibals or something, then we've got an obligation to prevent them from hurting any pony else. So, do either of you have an alternative? P21 looked up at the bridge. The first 50 feet were completely open. No. Okay. So, I'll trot up and say hi. P21, you sneak up while they're paying attention to me in case they're bad. Glory, hang back with Scotch and give me cover in case I have to run. Lacuna, if things go real bad, pop in and shield me so we can fall back. Remember, this close the city's air defenses might find you as a fine target, so no flying. Lacuna nodded once. This just screamed bad idea. But what could I do? Some pony had to pry into other ponies' business. Might as well be me. Well, let's go say hello. I walked towards the settlement with Taurus's rifle beside me. I needed a name for the hunting rifle. Bulldozer? Nah. Old Bull? Maybe. But it needed to be cooler. As I stepped onto the bridge, my pip-buck chirped. Fallen Arch appeared on my EFS's navigation tool. Now there was a name to inspire trust and community. As I approached the main gate, the back hatch of the covered steel wagon, the two watch ponies stationed above it, turned and started. They began banging on a metal drum, calling more to the gate. Who goes there? Called a buck through the downpour as they mustered atop the metal wagons blocking the bridge. I glanced to the side and saw P21 wiggle underneath one of the old vehicles and disappeared from sight. Security! I yelled back. If anything was going to make them start shooting, but they hadn't yet. I took that as a good sign. What do you want? The buck yelled. I contemplated wiping all of you out. Just to get out of the rain, I answered. Go away, the buck retorted. I got caps to trade. I said go away. A rifle shot pinged off the asphalt before me. Then I saw P21's face emerge from under the wagon. He looked me in the eye and shook his head slowly, drawing a hoof across his throat. I sighed and then narrowed my eyes at the half-dozen ponies on the wall. Now listen up. I'm wet, tired, and now cranky. Will you drop your weapons and open the door to this place? Whatever messed up shit you're doing in there will be ended, and then I'll be on my way. Otherwise, I'm going to bring down such a fury upon you that you'll wish you were never born. I will tear down this fucking bridge with my bare hooves and dump it all into the river and let Celestia deal with it in the afterlife. I shouted as I started a pace. So what's it going to be? Because I'm sick of waiting. They stared at each other as I stood there with rain dropping off Taurus's barrel. I could see a sniper rifle, but its owner was out in the open. He was first, then. The weapons hit the ground, and they were scrambling out of sight. I blinked in surprise. Huh? I muttered lamely as a terrified buck pushed open the doors to the settlement. Slowly, I approached, watching my EFS for red among the blue. Please don't kill us, he begged as I passed. I looked back at Glory, Scotch, and Lacuna as I gestured for them to stay back. I walked through the wagon. The far end had been cut away. Fallen Arch wasn't so much as a settlement. It's gathered its name was due to the 100-foot span of fallen bridge it backed onto. A half-dozen wagons had been converted into rusty shelters. I need every pony out here right now, I called out into the rain. One by one, the bucks emerged. And only bucks. There were maybe 8 or 10. My eyes swept the rusted shelters, but there was one building full of blue bars. I said every pony. Then the door opened and 2 more bucks emerged, a mare willing a filthy rag, trailing them. One of the pair had its mouth collapsed over a detonator. The other, who I took for a leader, given that every pony kept looking at him, cleared his throat. Hello, my name is Collar. Oh, this boded well. I'd welcome you, but I'm afraid you're going to have to leave here, Miss Security. We have no business being here, and you have no right to judge us. I looked over and picked out P-21's blue bar off to the side. He peeked at me, and I looked back at the leader. Well, that sounds like there's something here that needs judging. I'd really like to take a peek inside that wagon there, I said as I pointed my pip buck, glancing over at P-21 again. He gave a tiny nod, then disappeared. That holds our mares and foals, he replied sharply. You will not deny us our property. Property? Then my eye picked up the collar on the mare's throat. Slavers. Collar coughed. However, if you are not unwilling to compromise, leave now, and we shall allow you to take Clover with you. I felt a loathing like I hadn't felt in a long time. Raiders were sick. Gangers were violent. However, nothing churned my stomach like the thought of a pony selling other pony. It reminded me of 99. Now that sounds generous, I said as I saw P-21 slip as quietly as a ghost through a window in the trailer. There were advantages to being an undersized, sneaky pony. But I'm afraid it ain't quite enough. Why don't you let all these mares go, and I'll call it fair? These mares are our property and our livelihood. Without them, we are as good as dead. If you try and take them by force, then we may as well liquidate our stock, he replied calmly. Liquidate? Seriously? And I wasn't taking his property, I was freeing ponies. I was burning to vaporize his head in the worst way. Your livelihood? Your property? I fumed, my eyes narrowing as I glared at him. You're telling me the only way you can survive is selling the flesh of other ponies? I knew that right now P-21 must have been taking off those collars. I had to buy him time. Find another way. A better way. This is the better way, he retorted. For generations we fished the scum out of the river, salvaged what we could, and hunted what we found in the marsh, and it still wasn't enough. I watched my great-grandfather get consumed by disease and my father taken by a famine. Finally, we sold our surplus population and purchased enough food for the rest to survive. I sold my daughters myself, rather than see them starve. We rent our females, or sell them, to sustain the community, to sustain civilization. We've done what we must to survive.